there's still a shot it could be Mystique. I'm just kidding. There's no shot. But anyway, we have our final hero announcement for the X-Men wave, right? This is it for the X-Men, right? Not it for Marvel Champions, but this is it for X-Men as far as we know. Maybe, the whole way this got started was they said originally that they were going to do 3 rounds of X-Men stuff because that's what the contract allowed. Heck, maybe they signed a new contract and they're going to do 3 more rounds. I don't think they are by any means, but this is, as far as we know right now, this is the end of the X-Men stuff for at least now. And the final hero that was announced was Magneto. And I'm kind of hyped for him. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the announcement here. We're gonna go through the cards. This reveal actually had the least amount of cards revealed, which was really kind of fascinating and interesting. So we're gonna go through the reveal, and I'm gonna give my final thoughts at the end of it. But really quick, before we get into the card set, go over to twitch.tv/D20 Woodworking. Hit the follow button, turn on notifications to join the live community. Really appreciate it. And if you ever have rules questions or you want to talk about this stuff, yesterday, all day in the Discord, we were talking about this, right? We were talking about how this will work, what could be cool here and there. Like, join the Discord. The link is down below. I hope to see you there. Okay. So, Magneto, formerly the X-Men's greatest foe, Eric Lenscher. I always say Eric's name wrong. It's just going to be Eric. Better known as Magneto, renounced his villainous ways and took up his friend Xavier's dream of peaceful coexistence between mutants and humans. Now he fights alongside the X-Men as the hero in his own right. And then they go the whole introduction. I'm not going to get into this. But basically, with his pre-built leadership deck ready to play from the start, you'll be able to command allies and forces of magnetism in equal measure from the moment you open the box, with his ability to pull magnetic cards from his deck at will. This kind of goes into the villain way of doing things, right? So the villain card, when he did the magnet counters, he would just keep discarding cards until he got a magnetic card. So it's kind of playing off that. So he's a mighty hero and whatnot. Okay. And then he also has the Hellfire Club in the deck as well. And we'll get into that too. Okay. So Magneto was a powerful mutant back when he was the X-Men's foe, and he's equally powerful as a friend. So Magneto, 2/2/2 stat line, 5 hand size, 10 hit points. This is a very good stat line, right? Especially for solo play. 2/2/2, I've always said this is like a Captain America type thing, Wolverine type thing. Always a solid stat line, means they can do a lot of things. Now, his magnetic pull action is really interesting. Discard cards on the top of your deck until a magnetic card is discarded. Add that card to your hand, limit once per round. Now, this is fascinating because cards like Digging Deep and White Fox are going to be, well, at least Digging Deep is probably going to be an auto include into Magneto's deck, which gives it some more purpose, which is nice. But it's interesting how they're doing this. And we'll get more into that in a little bit. So central to this playstyle is this magnetic pull ability, which we just read, which allows you to discard cards on top of your deck until you find a magnetic card and add it to your hand once per round. Every single one of Magneto's signature cards has the magnetic trait. All right, good to know. Which means that you can use the ability to hunt for some of the best tools in this kit each round. And what's impressive are Magneto's helmet, 3-cost upgrade, Magneto's helmet, armor magnetic, Magneto gains steady. Side note, I was kind of really hoping that he would gain stalwart. Right, I was really hoping this would be like the one situation we have a hero gain stalwart, or maybe somehow it triggers and we get it. I think it would have been cool, but oh well. Exhaust Magneto's helmet to generate a wild resource for a magnetic card. This is going to be a huge card to play, and you'll see why in a little bit. He gives him steady and can grant him a discount from future magnetic cards. While his armor, 2-cost upgrade, response. After you resolve your magnetic pull ability, which is what's on the card, if you discard at least one of the following resource icons, right? A mental, a fist, or an energy, you get +1 thwart, +1 attack, +1 defense. So if you discard at least one of the following, so if you discarded 3 cards, one of each, he's now a 3/3/3 stat line, right? That's okay. So he's a 3/3/3 stat line, where if you can ready him up and swing multiple times, that's crazy. That's crazy. Okay, really strong. Can take advantage of the extra cards you discard with magnetic pull to grant him a boost. And also, if you discard 3 digging deeps, you can trigger each one or what. There's crazy things you do. To grant boost stats for each round. By discarding so many cards on top of his deck, you may be worried about Magneto will end up with extra encounter cards. But thankfully, Asteroid M, which is a 2-cost support, alter ego action, exhaust Asteroid M, shuffle the topmost magnetic card in your discard pile into your deck and heal 1 from your identity. The healing 1 is actually kind of cool. It's nice that they just added that naturally. But being able to get the topmost magnetic card back in, really cool, right? Especially as you get near the end of your deck. Hopefully you're just hitting magnetic cards nonstop then. I can help you get them back. Now, this is the other thing they're doing. Combined with Eric's innate ability, which says, and this is alter ego side, 6 hand size, 3 recovery, which is a little low, but okay, that's fine. After you change to this form, shuffle the top 3 cards of your discard pile into your deck. This is their new favorite thing, is like in the past, this would have just been an action of just like shuffle the top 3. And there's a way to kind of like spam that a little bit, like with early on in the game, like if you discard 3 really good cards to try to get more card draw, then shuffle it back in, right? There's a way you could spam that in the very first round. They're obviously trying to get around that. I think it's a very smart way of doing things. So you shuffle the top 3 cards of your discard pile back in, which is interesting, right? This brings up that the way you discard things is important now. This is the same thing with Pepper Potts and Tony Stark, right? So Tony Stark's, I think she's a support. Pepper Potts states whatever the resource is on the top of your discard pile, you can generate that resource. So if you play your cards right, and use a double resource to pay for something, and you pay for it, like an upgrade or something, you could then trigger Pepper again, you could trigger Pepper to use that double again, essentially, to pay for something else, like an event or something like that. Or if you use to pay an ally, something that didn't get thrown in the discard. So it's really interesting decision making there. Anyway, so the reason I say this is now important to pay attention to your discard pile and at least the top 3 cards. So it's the ability to shuffle 3 cards back in your deck, and as you'll be surprised how much mileage you can get out of a single deck. As for events, Magneto has a number of handy superpowers, really leaning into that, make him great for pulling off powerful combos. So Electromagnetic Blast, 2-cost event. Magnetic Superpower Thwart. Remove 3 threat from a scheme. If this removes the last threat from the scheme, you may discard an attachment with the text hero action or hero response. Hero action / hero responses have been the worst cards we've had to deal with for a while now. So I'm happy that it will help with that. It is a little tougher to pull off because you have to do it off the last 3 threat. This seems to me like it's going to be a really strong. Anytime the wording is like this on a 2/2/2 stat line, it seems to me like it's going to be a strong solo hero, in my opinion. Because if I can thwart 2 with Magneto, I mean, I can probably remove 3 from the threat with this card. Then that like to remove 5 in total for a solo player, like that's the vast majority of the time you'll be able to trigger this response if you want to. But anyway, so you can remove some threat off a scheme, but if you manage to clear the scheme entirely, you can get rid of that pesky enemy attachment. Meanwhile, Metal Shards, 3-cost event, this is an attack card. Deals 7 damage to enemy. If that attack defeats an enemy, gain a tough status, which is really cool, right? It's really cool that you're going to be able to gain tough statuses like that. Huge fan of that. Really cool. 7 damage is a lot. And if you manage to defeat an enemy with the attack, you can net yourself a tough status. With so many powerful abilities at his fingertips, it's clear Magneto will need to utilize Death Focus to take the battlefield. It's hilarious that Death Focus doesn't have Magneto on it, right? Like, does Angel have superpower cards in his deck? I can't remember. I feel like he doesn't. But anyway, maybe he does. Maybe he has a few. But anyway, it's funny that it's not Magneto on. But anyway, they're reprinting Death Focus. A lot of people are excited about this. It's cool to see. So that's really fun. Then the rest of it's going to get into the leadership cards, which is some really interesting leadership cards. But you could see from here, they really didn't do much with Eric's cards. I want to point out something really fast, is that Asteroid M down here is a 115 card, right? The number 2 card in the kit. I now know to look for this little tiny number down here because his identity is 1. So Magneto is 1 out of 15, which means he most likely, it's not guaranteed, but most likely does not have a signature ally, which is interesting. I mean, it's fine. They've done this multiple times before with Storm and Miles and Gwen and whomever else, right? There's a ton of people, Groot, Rocket. So it's not unheard of. It's just rarer. His helmet is the number 2. His armor is the number 3. And then, 4, 5, 6, 7. We don't know what it is, right? Which is a lot of cards to not know. That's like a lot of cards to not know. So I guess there's another attachment. Wait. We can do this. So this is card number 4, right? I know it says 3 out of 15, but again, you have to pay attention to this little tiny number down here. So that's card number 4 in the pack of cards, right? Identity cards number 1, then 2, whatever. So they skip ahead to 8 out of 15, right? So what does that mean? There's 5, 6, 7. All right. So the next 3 cards, we don't know what they are. Right? Yeah. That's how that would be. It's very, very confusing to count. Somebody much smarter than I can explain it down in the comments. But anyway, we don't know a lot of cards between, again, 4, 5, 6, 7. We don't know what's going on there. I would assume some are going to be the same, some will be different. We'll see what that is in a little bit. And then metal shards we know is 10, so most likely there's going to be 2 of these thwart cards. But even after the attack card, I guess there might be defense cards at the end. So I don't know if there's going to be a crazy amount of upgrades and stuff in the beginning. Maybe some other events that we don't really know about. Heck, maybe they just throw the signature ally right in the middle and just really like throw us off. Maybe they finally got on to the idea that we actually pay attention to this stuff now. Whatever. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. I'm actually kind of happy they haven't spoiled his entire kit or even most of his kit. I think it's pretty cool because, you know, it gives us something to like speculate about and have fun with, and I think it's cool. I think it's cool, especially when you get the hero and like you're not 100% sure of everything that's in there. Okay. Okay, so now Magneto has a lot of power at his disposal, but his mutant abilities aren't the only thing at his command. Coming out of the box with a pre-built leadership deck, Magneto also brings the might of the X-Men to the battlefield. So he calls on iconic members like Phoenix. So Phoenix, 3-cost ally, 2/1/3 stat line, psionic card. After Phoenix enters play, choose an X-Men ally. Ready that ally and heal 1 damage from it. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. It's like a soft... whatchamacallit, what is it? Not the team up card with like your signature ally. It's like a very, very soft way of doing that. Just being able to ready up an ally and heal from them so they can attack again. Really like that card. Really cool. They also have Cyclops. 3-cost ally, 2/2/2 stat line. After Cyclops enters play, choose an enemy. Until the end of the phase, increase the amount of damage the enemy takes from each attack by 1. That's crazy. That's crazy. This card is going to be in the vast majority of decks now, for leadership at least. Because if you do any big push at the end, you play Cyclops if you have big attacks or if you have like, what is it? To me, my X-Men or whatever it's called, right? Where you could just like line up all these, like Cyclops essentially would do 3 damage to an enemy plus whatever your hero would do. And if you did it with Eric and he has now a 3/3/3 stat line because you did like his whole discard thing with his armor, I mean, you're now doing 4/4 damage with just Cyclops and something like that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. It's also when he enters play. It's not when he's played from your hand. So if you did a, whatever that card is, rapid response, right? Where, you know, he got knocked out and enters back into play, it would still kind of, it would trigger then. Actually, no, it'd be only until the phase. So if you did it during your phase, I think it would have worked then. I'd have to double check that in my head. But like if he took consequential damage, knocked himself out, rapid response and back in, he has now entered play. You could choose the enemy and then trigger that just in case you're sitting there like, well, 3 is a lot, right? It'd be a lot of setup and a lot of things to get right. It wouldn't be like a, you know, a slam dunk or anything like that, but it is something that you could theoretically play around with. There's a lot of things you could play around with this card, which is really interesting. Okay. Then they'll never leave play. Utilize the upgrade. Here we go. Won't stay down. It's a 1-cost support. Play only if your identity has the X-Force or X-Men trait. Discard this card. Return an X-Force or X-Men ally from your discard pile to your hand, which is really cool. Being able to play them again. Really like this card. I think it's really interesting. I hope they do this with other like Avenger type stuff too. Like, I don't know. It seems like a cool design card. If Cyclops and Phoenix aren't enough, call on new recruits. So it's another player size game, 0 cost, 2 threat element per player. Play if only you're the X-Men trait. Each player chooses 1 set aside new ally and adds it to their hand, which is kind of interesting of how they're doing things. So if Cyclops want to call on new recruits like for extra assistance, your X-Men allies are here to support you, and if the situation turns dire, one of them could perform a noble sacrifice. So again, with a new 1 set aside new ally, again, it's interesting that like you just be pulling from your deck, and now would you be diluting your deck? No, right? Because you got rid of the player side scheme, so you're just like replacing it, which is interesting. So I think it's interesting that it wouldn't be in your deck. You can pull them aside. I think I'm fine with it. I don't know if I like love it, but I think there's some interesting things you can do with it if I thought about it more. So another example they have is a Null. 2 cost, 2/2/2 stat line, linked to new recruits. There we go. It has to be a linked card. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. If you have a mutant or X-Men trait, a Null gets +1 Thor and does not count against your ally limit. Pretty cool. And then they have, I assume they will have other ones that are linked. We'll have to see what this is with the linked cards and whatever. It would have been nice if they wrote on this like linked or something like that, but that's fine. That's me being me. So your X-Men allies are here to support you, and if the situation turns dialed, one of them could do a noble sacrifice. 1 cost event. Discard an ally you control. Heal damage from your hero equal to the ally's printed hit points, and give your hero a tough status. Really kind of cool, especially for a final push. I I like this card. I like the idea of this card a lot. And I'm happy it's not trait locked for just X-Men. I I like this card a lot. I like what, instead of just chump blocking all the time, it now makes it a little more interesting. Like, okay, you can heal 1 or 2, right? Like I picture this with Nick Fury. So you use Nick Fury, and he has what, 3 life, so you use him for the 1. Most of the time we chump block with him. Well, if you're dealing with someone with a lot of overkill, you can noble sacrifice Nick Fury to heal 2 and get a tough status on you. So if the overkill doesn't matter, assuming they don't have piercing, right, and destroy your whole tough thing. So it kind of works around that, which I think is really cool. I think this is a really cool way of just like, again, expanding that it doesn't all have to be about chump blocking. They've obviously for the past few years been working on like trying to get rid of like chump, not get rid of it, but give you alternatives or make alternative conditions to chump blocking. I think this helps that. Big fan. All right, Power and Decadence. As we mentioned earlier, the Magneto Hero Pack comes with a brand new modular encounter set. This set features the notorious and secretive Hellfire Club. Arrogant and ruthless, the members of the secret organization think of themselves as untouchable, and that is reflected in their abilities. So, Toughest Nails, Sebastian Shaw is a 1-2-5 stat line, toughness, villainous. After it's a force response, after Sebastian Shaw is attacked, give him a face down boost card. He cannot be attacked again this phase, which is pretty interesting. I like that idea. He's card 1 out of 5. Next one they have is Selene, 1-1-4 stat line with quick strike and villainous. Allies cannot attack Selene, which is pretty interesting. As a boost, you can discard an ally you control. 2-5. Then the next card is the Side Scheme, 4 out of 5. Side Scheme, when revealed, the inner circle, place 2 additional threat here for each Hellfire card in play. It comes with 4 threat and a boost icon. We don't know who 3 is. It better be. Emma Frost. I'm just saying, it better be Emma Frost. We've been clamoring for Emma Frost, so it better be her. Okay, can only be attacked once per phase with switch striking Selene. Ignores the pitiful efforts of your allies with the emphasis on boost costs and multiple obstacles thrown your way. The Hellfire Club is sure to make their presence known in a scenario whether you like it or not. As with all modular encounter sets, the Hellfire set can be added to any scenario for challenge. Can you defeat the inner circle? And then it just shows this card. So with his mastery of magnetism in his hands and the might of the X-Men at his side, Magneto is a powerful hero and a fantastic addition to any team. Look forward to battling the forces of Apocalypse with Magneto when the Magneto Hero Pack arrives this November. All right, so really quick, couple quick thoughts. So I recently did my not recently, I guess it's been a little while now, my Iceman Hero review. And in the review, I said I'm not really a big fan of him because I don't like the way he's designed. I don't think he has any interesting choices, right? You want to do things and they're pretty straightforward. Like everything about him is straightforward. And people are like, well, you know, it's hard to make interesting choice villains and whatever. And I get that. The choices you have to make with Magneto, I love already. I love this already. Let me explain. You see, the whole interesting choice thing kind of stems from, in my opinion, Scarlet Witch, right? Do you want to go through the encounter deck faster and you'll end up with more acceleration tokens, right? If you go through faster, but you need to go through that deck to basically do everything she has going on, right? So for example, she has Chaos Control in her hero card. I believe it's Chaos Control. I think. So if you flip over a 2 boost icon, you could, cancel that 2 boost and try again. Now, it may be a 1 boost icon or it may be a 3, right? These are the interesting trade-off and decisions you have to do. And regardless if it's 1 or a 3, you just got through his deck or the villain's deck a little bit faster. So how you have to like plan for all that, right? Like it's interesting choices you have to make. You can say the same thing with Wolverine, right? His claws let him play attacks that are really strong for quote unquote free. You just have to pay with, health. Is it worth that trade-off of health to do the attack for cheaper, right? How hard are you going to get hit the next round, right? These are the interesting trade-offs. Same with X-23 is the same exact way. Heroes that have interesting trade-offs like that fascinate me. I think when you make players have to make hard decisions, it makes the game more unique and more fun. This is one of my main critiques with Iceman. It's very straightforward. There's not hard trade-offs or anything. You just kind of go with the flow and do whatever. Play his cards. Magneto, the discarding the magnetic cards makes things really interesting because you could just discard half your deck. That could be a thing, right? And now it's okay. Now it's a rush to play Asteroid M to get that out there, to try to get magnetic cards to stack the end of your deck, right? How are you going to figure that out? When you're going to time down your flip downs and all that stuff. Like, there are now interesting choices. And now you have this paired up with the armor and it discards cards and, with the armor getting there's so many cool things that could be done here. And that's what, to me, is the most interesting. And then even his alter ego response. So after you change his form, shuffle the top 3 cards of your discard pile. You have to figure out when you want to play certain cards if you know you're going to flip down, because you want to like reshuffle back in like doubles, like or certain resource cards, or maybe certain attack cards, or whatever it may be. These are the interesting decisions you have to make. And I can already tell I'm going to like Magneto's playstyle because of this, right? Because of that is what's going to make this interesting to me. So I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited for this hero. I think he looks great on paper. Him and Jubilee are probably my 2 most hype heroes right now. Nothing against Nightcrawler. I think Nightcrawler will be fine too, but I just really like these trade-off mechanics. I think this is going to be really cool. It's going to be really exciting. So let me know your thoughts down below. When you're down there, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. I want to know what you think about Magneto, what you like, what you don't like, whatever it may be. And I'll see you all next time.